Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Tools with Tradify. Delighted this week to have John McGrath, who's our first guest actually based in Ireland. So welcome, John.
Happy to be here.
Some of you will know John. John is Man in a Shed, is his YouTube channel, so you can go look that up. And John is an electrician by trade, but actually has a passion for carpentry and whiskey, and his YouTube channel covers both. So we'll dig into that in a minute. And John's based in Mooncoin, which is kind of near the city of Waterford. I think it's the closest sort of big town to Mooncoin. Also not too far from Kilkenny. And I saw actually when I did some research on this, a frequent winner of the Tidy Towns competition, or scores very highly on the Tidy Towns competition. Is that fair? Is it a very tidy town?
Yeah, it's a tidy little village. Yeah.
And those that know, it's famous for the song "The Rose of Mooncoin." I think a lot of Irish people would know that song. I'm not sure everyone, unless they're into sort of Gaelic athletics, would know it. But welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Glad to be here.
Fantastic. And just to start, maybe it'd be good. You're an electrician by trade. What prompted the sort of YouTube channel, and is that really to sort of serve your passion in woodwork? Do you want to maybe talk us through that?
Yeah, the YouTube channel, I was always into making stuff, bit of woodworking. Guitar building is what I was doing. And I just kind of started recording it with my camera phone in the shed. And it kind of just took off. It was kind of something I got into as a hobby, and it has just exploded. And it kind of came a second, I suppose, business nearly at this stage. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah,
because you're almost up to 50,000 followers on the YouTube channel. I think I saw last month the number. So that is significant enough that is becoming a second business for you, right? From advertising revenue and other things around that. Is that the case now?
Yeah, it's a second income at this stage. Now, I only ever intended it to be a hobby, but it has kind of grown, and it's going to surprise me in that way. So it's interesting, the push and pull of trying to keep it at a hobby, and then also the kind of business interactions that I'm having with the channel as well. So it's quite an interesting development, I would say.
Yeah, and what came first, whiskey or woodwork?
The woodwork, a recent tasting for whiskey is kind of what I've had. I always kind of enjoyed a whiskey, but I've recently kind of got into it a little bit more. I'm not a huge whiskey drinker now. It's a nice little drink every now and again. So yeah.
I watched the episode on the roundup of the best whiskies of 2020. So I'm not a huge whiskey drinker, but I am now going to try. I think try the winner. And see what I think there, see if it turns my head. But and it's really cool you're doing that. And then you're sort of by day an electrician, and you've been doing that for a long time. You've been in the business now, I think, for 20 years. Do you want to maybe talk how you became an electrician? What got you into that?
Yeah, I suppose I was never going to go down the academic route. I did go in and do electronics. Both my grandfathers were. One was a refrigeration engineer. The other guy worked in the railway. So he was doing electrical work in the railway, and he used to bring me with him. I used to do electrical work with him, so that kind of piqued my interest there, and he kind of pushed me towards it. So yeah, I started in college then doing electronic technology. I was offered an apprenticeship, didn't really like electronics, and then I took the apprenticeship straight away. And it's been kind of ever since. Electrician is the way I wanted to go,
Yeah, cool. And where's the business today?
Well, we're based in kind of Waterford, so Mooncoin is about 5 minutes outside Waterford City. Yeah. So there's myself, my business partner. We have a full-time employee who's permanently in one of the factories we service. So we service mostly pharmaceutical companies and a few other different things like that. So it's small, but we have a good turnover, and it's pretty good now at the minute. Yeah,
and so do you want to walk through how you sort of landed on that sort of building the business and that customer set, the pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, I suppose I qualified in 2003. I started working for myself in 2005, and it was kind of slowly built from there. It was all word of mouth, different contacts we picked up. Luckily, a guy that I was working with, he got a pretty good job in that particular pharmaceutical company that was just starting out. He put in a good word for us. We got an opportunity there, and 10 years later, we're still there, and the company has expanded. So it's one of our main contracts now. So that's kind of how we got in the door.
Oh, fantastic! And do you do any residential work, or is it mainly really that sort of?
We do everything. We do commercial, industrial, and residential. But most of it, I'd say, what we do at the minute is commercial and industrial. We do look after a large estate as well, so there's a lot of domestic work in the estate. So
And At what point did you decide it was the time to hire someone? And did you hire an apprentice first initially, or did you hire another electrician?
We had a couple of guys working for us pre-recession. The recession was particularly different when it hit 2008, and then it was just the two of us after that. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical company, they were looking for a permanent staff for us to supply some permanent employees. So that's how that opportunity came about.
Great. And how's that been, that transition from sort of smaller to then adding that extra people and managing them? Has that changed how you operate the business much?
Yeah, it's nice to have that extra income from that employee, and he's kind of got a permanent position in where he is, so that's good. And of course, using the Tradify software has been absolutely fantastic. I've found over the last while as well, so that's really helped that end of thing, especially with regular invoicing and that, and the regular payments we get from the business is absolutely fantastic in that respect.
And how easy did you find it? One of the challenges that I hear from everyone is kind of finding and hiring great people. How did you go about that?
Again, it's who you know, I think, especially around where we are. So like we're in the trades a long time, so we knew lots of guys. So we had literally by chance bumped into a guy. He was looking to get into one of the factories. He said, if there's anything going, just let me know. We knew he was a good guy. And so as soon as the opportunity came up, got on the phone to him straight away and say, listen, there's an opportunity here. Are you interested? He jumped on it straight away. So that's how we found him.
Oh, fantastic. And has sort of the unfortunate, which is, every country, anyone who speaks in any country, it's pretty much the same, differing levels, different stages. But how big an impact was COVID for your business, and I guess with those sort of industrial and pharmaceutical contracts?
Yeah, well, funny you should ask that. I'm actually in isolation at the minute. I tested positive for COVID a week ago, or just over a week ago now, and I'm actually out of isolation tomorrow. So that kind of happened at the worst possible time. We had three big jobs starting. We were under pressure for time anyway. My business partner, he had to isolate before me. Then I had to isolate, so we lost a lot of time. So yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. The first lockdown, it was 10 weeks. So nobody knew what was kind of happening. It was 10 weeks, everything shut down. So we were literally 10 weeks, no work, full shutdown. And after that, it kind of got busier and busier. And because some of the pharmaceutical stuff is classed, I suppose, as essential works, that kept us going,
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. And so how was and were you vaccinated before you got it? Yeah,
I was fully vaccinated. So my business partner, he kind of got sick. He kind of got some cold symptoms. He was vaccinated as well, so his symptoms weren't too bad, but he just, not to take a chance, he got tested, came back positive. I got tested, it came back negative. So I thought, good, I'm good to go. But the pharmaceutical companies we work for, they require a negative test 5 days after last contact before you can go back in.
Okay, right.
I had to get another test that came back positive. So that's where I am where I am now.
Wow, that's tricky stuff. Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll be back soon. So how many days? You say you got one more day left?
Yeah, tomorrow. I get back to start back tomorrow. I can't wait because we have so much on now at the minute.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And I mentioned when we came on, because some people might be thinking about the wall behind you, which I think is one of your projects on your channel. Yeah. Do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, it's just a bit of, I suppose, what they call it, wainscoting, or it was actually my wife's idea. So it's just made from moisture-resistant MDF, so 12mm board cut into strips, put on the wall and painted. It just gives that lovely effect. So yeah, it was definitely it was one of the woodworking projects or carpentry projects I've done on my channel.
Fantastic. And aside from hiring, which you talked about, which it sounds like you had a good handle on, what's been the main and COVID, obviously, what's been the other big challenges when you sort of set the business up and grown it over the last few years? Yeah,
so it's definitely getting going, trying to get the business off the ground, getting word of mouth, or getting business in, getting it up and running. I think that's the biggest thing. Once you get that boulder moving and get that business up and running, once that gets going, it's great. But 2008 was an absolute disaster. Obviously, the recession that kicked in, 2009, the phones stopped ringing, and it was 3 or 4 very lean years after that. But we survived it, and we came out the other side. A lot of guys didn't, I suppose. So we were in a kind of a good position. And so then building the contacts with the pharmaceutical companies, that grew into another business. And so we serviced kind of several businesses that grew out of that one business. And that kind of really took off for us, So we're lucky we're in a position we're in now. We're kind of very stable.
And what do you think you did? What were the things that you did that made a difference during that recession that kept you afloat? Those other businesses you refer to that sort of went under. Are there any advice you can give people? Because I think with COVID and everything else, unfortunately, there's going to be other sort of bumps in the road. Were there things that you did that you would do again that you think kept the business afloat?
Yeah, I suppose we were in a good position. We had no real overheads as such. So we kept everything nice and lean, no big loans, kept everything nice and efficient. I suppose that was the main thing. So we were able to survive on very little income for a long time. And it was tough. Like I said, we got some very lean years, but every day, get up, get into the van, get out there, because if you're out of sight, you are out of mind. So keep meeting people, keep contacting people, keep chasing work. When you have no work, your job is finding work. That's the kind of mindset you have to have, And once you grow on that and deliver, I suppose is the biggest thing. Deliver on what you say you're going to do. That's how your business will, grow.
Yeah, the keeping lean is really good advice. I think it's one of those exercises I often advise, often small businesses or people I'm talking about, friends or family I come across, which is like, how long could you go without, income? And it's just a really interesting question when people answer that. And some people will say, a month. And straight out the door, you're like, well, that's a problem. You need to think about how do you, and not saying it's easy, but, how do you think about reducing that overhead, or maybe now isn't the time to expand, or any of those types of questions. Exactly. That's great advice. And when you're out there in the van sort of looking for business, how did you approach that? You mentioned that it sounds like a lot of it is word of mouth and people Were there other avenues that you pursued to win new business? You talked about the estate that you service.
We tried advertising, that kind of thing. It never really took off. Most of our business always came from word of mouth. One contact always leads to the next contact. We were lucky in that we had loads of trade contacts from years of work. My business partner, he's a few years ahead of me again. He had plenty of contacts as well. And I suppose it's just one job leads to the next job. And if you can deliver, you're only as good as your last job, really. And if your last job, if you deliver excellence, then you will be looked for. I suppose that's the way I would say it. And so they did come looking for us. Yeah,
great. Yeah. And how did you meet your business partner?
Actually, the guy I served my time with, the company I served my time with, he was an electrician working for them. So I kind of served my time with my business partner. He was he was a qualified Sparks at the time, and I was an apprentice. So that's how we kind of met. We've been working together over 20 years, I think, at this stage. So it's a good relationship.
Yeah, and did you both just mutually say at some point, hey, it's time for us to go and set our own thing up?
Yeah, I kind of always had it in my mind. I was always heading the direction I wanted to work for myself. That was my biggest thing. And the kind of opportunity arrived. I kind of made the jump. I said, listen, I'm going to go do it. I was in a position at the time where I was still living at home. I had no overheads. I just went out, got my own van, got it up and running. Yeah. He had a few more overheads. He had a few family commitments. It was harder for him. So after about 6 months, work started coming in. I said, okay, now it's time. Let's go do this. Let's make it happen. So he jumped ship and came with me then as well.
And now you're sort of doing, the company's going well. You've got the YouTube channel. How do you balance those two things? The sort of the passion and the day job.
Yeah, no. So the YouTube channel, like I said, it started out as a hobby. It was very much just a way of me just sharing what I was doing. It's kind of my passion. It's something I like to do. It's a bit of creativity. But now it has really grown. It takes up a lot more time. So it's almost a second job at this stage. So it's tough to balance the two. And like I was saying, with the push and the pull of the YouTube channel, especially now that it's generating a few pounds, you kind of have to. It's kind of taken on a more business oriented stance, I would say, and that's kind of. I would like to kind of keep the whole hobby vibe to it, but it's quite difficult now at the minute.
Yeah, and what sparked the explosion of it? I mean, I'm always intrigued by this. I hope you don't mind. Some people don't like the word influencer, but people that have amassed a sort of reasonable size following on YouTube or Instagram. Was there a moment in time? Was there a particular video that you did that suddenly caused that growth?
A couple of videos that began to take off. The planter video, I did garden planters, that just exploded, and it exploded 2 years in a row. So the second time around, it really took off. And I got like 10,000 subscribers in a month from that one video. So it's once the algorithm picks something up, people really like it, your channel just kind of takes off. But there's 100 videos before that, before you actually hit that point of exponential growth, I think. So yeah.
And how many are you doing a week now? On average,
it depends. It depends how busy I am in work. I can maybe get 1 out a week. Sometimes I get 2 out a week. It depends. It really depends on how the day job is going.
And has it tempted you to do stuff on the day job, to do an electrician channel as well, or you want to keep this purely as a hobby project?
Yeah, I thought about it. I have shared some stuff on Instagram, the projects that I'm doing in work and stuff, but a lot of the places I work, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to film, especially if there's R&D going on in some of the pharmaceutical places like that. So I just couldn't bring camera equipment in there. And we're usually so busy, so flat out. I wouldn't have 5 minutes to turn around and talk to a camera. I'd need a camera guy, I think, in order to make it work. But Yeah, so I would like to share that. I have been asked, so I do get lots of messages. Hey, we'd love to see what you're doing out on site. So I do share snippets of it on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It would be tough to film, especially the places I work.
And is that people that have seen your sort of carpentry, seen you doing the woodwork stuff, and then decided, hey, I know you're an electrician by day. What about what you're up to then? Is that the type of response you're getting?
Yeah, that's it. I've done a few electrician videos. I mix in the electrical stuff every now and again. I give electrical advice, especially when workshop advice, setting up a workshop, doing electrical stuff. I actually did a video how to advising apprentices starting out. That got a lot of views. That did really well. So I got loads of emails and stuff from guys saying, hey, we'd love to see more of your electrical side of things, but it's difficult. It's difficult to show it, so.
Oh, that's really interesting. So are there a lot of younger people you think watching the channel who are thinking about getting into the trades and are looking at you doing the carpentry side of things and trying to look for advice?
Yeah,
is that quite common?
I get a lot of emails, especially from like that video, that the apprentice video that I did. I got a lot of lovely emails from all over around the world from guys who were just starting out in apprenticeship saying, hey, thanks, man. I'm just getting into this, or that's kind of inspired me to go and do it. I always wanted to be an electrician. I'm going to do it, asking for advice. I try and answer as many as I can, especially those type of emails. Anybody looking for advice, I always try and give it, so.
That's fantastic. That's really, really cool. And because that's definitely a challenge, is attracting more people into the trades. Do you see that in Ireland the same as everywhere else? Do you think it's a similar trend? Yeah,
there's a trade shortage definitely here in Ireland as well. I suppose they don't push you towards it in school. If you're not college orientated, sometimes the teachers lose interest. So I don't understand that, because it's a great career to go into. It's especially, there's so many avenues you can go down in all the different trades, and even have your own business at the end of the day. And I suppose 2008, that crash, that was pretty horrendous here. It was like 360,000 construction workers like that overnight so that decimated the trades. And then it was hard to get guys to go back into it, because when you can just everything shuts down overnight like that, people, I suppose, are worried about the next time that happens. But that was a difficult thing. But they're actually actively now searching for more tradespeople. There is a shortage of tradespeople here too, so it's a great career to get into at the minute. Yeah,
it feels like we've gone the other way now, and that's a worldwide issue, which is there's just not enough people who are qualified and can do trades. And so I think it's a great. Actually, feels like it has more longevity, if anything, versus 2008 in terms of skill set and type of work that you can get. And you make a good point, and it's a great way to build your own business and have a very successful career on your own terms. And is the ambition for you to keep growing the electrician business? Find more customers, hire more people. Is that the plan, or are you happy where you are?
We're kind of good where we are. We have, like myself and my business partner, we always talk about, we have a great work-life balance at the minute, which is very important. I get to do my stuff, he gets to do his stuff. The bills are paid. We have a good income. We have some really good contracts. We have a full-time employee. We possibly might take on another guy. We're getting very busy at the minute. I suppose one of the biggest dangers is, as the companies we work for expand, they'll need more from us. So we will have to provide that if and when that time comes. Yeah. But that's the kind of situation we're in. But at the minute, we're good. So we'll see how it goes. I think play it by ear.
And any advice? You're one of the first people I've spoken to who's managed to achieve that. I know many have the ambition, what you refer to as work-life balance. Just having some level of balance and not working all hours. How did you do that? What do you think made the difference and really allows you to do that?
I suppose it's all the work you put in beforehand. It's the years that takes to get up to that level and to actually win those contracts to a point where you say, right, I'm just servicing these businesses now that pays a good living, and that's enough. That's enough for me. That's the kind of level you want to be at, and it's good to go from there. But it's difficult. It's a lot of work to get to that position. I suppose it's all the hours and all the lean times you put in beforehand, and just being consistent, deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on. That's a big thing. If you can turn your business into a business that other businesses really depend on, and you can deliver for them, then you're indispensable, and that's how you get there, I think.
And did you have a number in mind? I'm not asking for the number, but I guess what I'm asking is, did you sort of a few years ago sit down and say, okay, if we get to this level of kind of income, this is where we want to be? Was there like a goal? I guess it's another way of asking that question.
We didn't really have, I suppose, a goal or a set figure in mind. We just wanted to build a regular income, a good regular income, where the business was sustaining itself, taking care of itself, and we were doing well. Once we could get there, we said, if we can keep it at that level and keep a good work-life balance, then that's kind of the golden zone we're in, and we're there now, I think.
And you talked about the pharmaceutical company. That must be interesting. I had a electrician on who worked in prisons and had worked at, I think, an MI6 facility or something of the like. Have you working in a pharmaceutical company? Does that have its own challenges? Is that interesting?
Yeah, it's very interesting work. Lots of different projects. They're always chopping and changing, especially when you're in the R&D side of things. They're always pushing hard to get product to market and stuff like that. So they can literally install a whole line. Yeah. They can chase the product, trying to get it to level. But if someone beats them, then the whole line comes back out. It's rechanged, chopped and changed the whole time. So it keeps us on our toes. You have to be ready to go, you know. So yeah, it's an interesting line of work to be in, I would say.
Yeah, I can imagine. And aside from word of mouth, any advice? You talked about advertising didn't really work. How else did you sort of, aside from word of mouth, generate that new business that you've won?
That was literally techniques? It was all word of mouth. Yeah, it was all word of mouth. And like I said, once you get that opportunity, deliver. That's it. Like, be on time, do everything you're going to say you're going to do, and deliver it on time and deliver it well. And if you can do that consistently, then you will grow.
Yeah.
Now, cool. I mean, there's loads of opportunity. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, carry on. Sorry.
I'm just saying there's loads of opportunities now, I suppose, for guys starting out. If you're thinking about, growing a business, the online stuff today is absolutely fantastic. Getting your name out there through all the different things. I think you had, was it Jordan Fardy on? Yes. Yeah. I mean, his approach, his kind of modern approach to the whole social media aspect of things is absolutely fascinating. I think that's an avenue that a lot of guys could look at,
Yeah, it does seem like, I think if you're starting a business today, having a Facebook, even just the basic things, having a Facebook page and making sure you're, I talk to lots of people there, but most people say advertising doesn't necessarily work, but when actually you dig into that, what you do find is actually having a good listing, being kind of very easily discoverable on Google, all those types of things for your location does work, right? That does make a big difference. Lots of people will either find you that way or find you to be more credible once they've looked you up and seen that you're a real business and you have presence and photos and all the other stuff that goes with that. So I think that is important. And do you have any plans, the sort of YouTube channel, have you ever thought about that becoming a full-time job? I don't necessarily mean the channel itself, but even just sort of following your passion and making money from doing the stuff that you seem to love, like the wall behind you.
Yeah, I was toying with the idea of maybe making stuff to sell. That kind of thing. I was building a few things and I was toying with that idea, but the channel itself is generating a nice little income now, especially with ad revenue and stuff like that. Now, that was never my intention starting out the channel. It has just become that. But like I say, our business is going well. That's my main focus. The channel is kind of my side focus and my hobby. So what becomes of that kind of becomes of that. I'm happy where it is. I'm happy that it's grown. I'm happy that it's generating an income. And it's kind of just keep pushing it as a hobby, sharing what I'm doing, and try not let the business kind of side of it get to it too much, because it might kill the content a bit if you feel like it has to be forced, something like that. So I'm trying to keep it as, hey, listen, guys, this is just what I'm doing in my workshop. Maybe you guys could want to try some of this too. And it's continuing to grow. So I keep doing that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's an element of people that actually set out to make money from building a YouTube channel, the ones that often fail because it doesn't have the authenticity or the thing that got people interested in the first place, which is it's kind of authentic and real, and it's a true hobby that there's a passion there, you can see that. Whereas if you're trying to build something around making ad revenue, then it's probably trickier. So I think that's good advice for anyone that's listening and thinking, right, I should go and start a YouTube channel tomorrow. I think you've got to have a certain appeal to people. And then, for any listeners who haven't watched your channel, there is the whiskey channel. If they're thinking about trying Irish whiskey, what would you recommend to someone who maybe drinks bourbon or Scottish whiskey or other things? What would you recommend as an entry level? I know you talked a lot about Jameson, but I'd be interested in your opinion on that.
Yeah, Jameson is kind of, I suppose it's the biggest selling Irish whiskey in the world, but it's a mass-produced whiskey, so it's, I wouldn't recommend it as, if you really wanted to taste what a nice Irish whiskey is. But definitely Redbreast 12, I think, is my top recommendation if you want to taste.
That's the one I made note of. Yes. Yeah.
Or fantastic. If you really want to be extravagant, the Redbreast 21-year-old, which my sister's got me for my 40th birthday, that is an exceptional whiskey, but it's pricey. But
it is 4 times the price of the other one. Yes.
yeah. It's kind of a once in a lifetime, I think. Buy it, try it, kind of bottle of whiskey. A special occasion one.
And where is that made? Where is that made in Ireland? Redbreast?
That's Middleton and Cork again. The Irish distillers. They're like the biggest whiskey producers in Ireland. They have Jameson, Powers, Redbreast. So many of them are made down in Middleton and Cork. The whole Irish whiskey industry collapsed. It almost completely shut down, and everything was consolidated to that one distillery in Cork. and it has exploded on the world stage again in the last few years. I think it's going to outsell Scotch in the States for the first time ever.
Oh, really?
This year or next year. Yeah. That's where it's at.
Oh,
now.
wow. Oh, amazing. Cool. Look, we always finish the show on a handful of questions, some of which I think I might know the answer to. The first one is, if you were going to pick another trade, and you might have a surprising answer, what would it be?
Yeah. Not a plumber anyway. That's one trade I wouldn't do. Carpentry, I suppose, furniture making, I think would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. The second question is, when you are on site, what's your go-to lunch?
Lunch. I'm not a big lunch guy, definitely a breakfast guy. There's a couple of places we frequent and treat ourselves to a nice breakfast every now and again. So a little fry up every now and again is quite nice.
Yeah, it's a nice treat. It's a good start to the day. And then your go-to tool brand. I mean, you use lots on the YouTube channel, but when you're an electrician, do you have a go-to brand or tool that you use?
At the minute, I'd say the power tools or the battery stuff. That's all Milwaukee at the minute. I love what they do. Especially the whole hog, a fantastic tool for electricians. I'd say it's one of my favorite tools. When it comes to hand tools, it has to be Nipex. I don't use anything else. They're just the best. Multi-tool, Leatherman, a big fan of Leatherman as well. So they were kind of my three top brands. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, Milwaukee and Nipex come up a lot, but Milwaukee definitely seems to be the leader in the small number of people I've spoken to on the podcast, is the leader of the power tools. Cool. And then it's a funny question to ask you right now, but we are looking at, with things opening up a bit more, if there was a sporting event or a music event you could go to, what would it be? Which hopefully you will be able to in the next 24 hours or so.
Yeah, they're still not fully open here in Ireland.
Yeah.
Electric Picnic is one of the biggest events, musical events here in Ireland. So we had tickets for that before this whole thing happened. So we were waiting for that to happen again. It's a big, massive festival. Actually, one of the estate that I do all the electrical services for, they have the All Together Festival. They host it there, Corrimore State in Waterford. That's a brilliant one as well. So that's another one I'm looking forward to as soon as everything comes back up.
Yeah, what's the expectation in Ireland on things opening back up?
A lot of stuff is open. Indoor dining is back, so pubs are back, but a lot of the sports stuff is not back. We still can't do the jiu-jitsu. We can't do any indoor training yet. So they're hopefully, I think it's next week, they're going to announce something. So maybe some more of the musical events can open up. They've allowed some small, limited numbers of sporting events and stuff. So that's kind of where we are at the minute.
Cool. And then the last question is, anyone else in Ireland or anywhere else that you come across that you think would make a great guest on the show?
Let me see. I kind of watch all the makers. There's one maker who was in the trades, I think, in England, Peter Miliband. He had, Peter Millard, sorry. He had a 10-minute workshop he does. So that guy would be pretty interesting. He was a cabinet maker. He worked for himself. He was self-employed. He might be a good guy to talk to, I think.
Fantastic. Great. Well, look, we wish you a speedy recovery, but it seems like you're in pretty good form.
I'm good.
It had a little impact, which is good, but glad to hear you're going to be able to get back to work. And thanks again. And the YouTube channel is really impressive. So those people that haven't, where's the best place to find you for those people sort of man in the shed? But do you want to maybe share how people can view you and find you, track you down?
Just search John McGrath on YouTube. I'll be the first guy pops up. If you want to find me there, you'll find all my links will be in my YouTube description. So that's the best way to get me.
Fantastic. Yeah, John McGrath. Just put that in Google. You'll find John and you'll find his channel, and it's worth a watch. Like I say, I did watch the review of whiskey, so if you are thinking about trying whiskey, it's worth a watch for that alone. And then also there's some great stuff on the woodwork side. So fantastic, John. Really appreciate you joining and spending the time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, for everyone else, thanks for listening. Rate, review, and do all the good stuff. If you can, give us feedback. It'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review, and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.